Can you see me okay?
I can see you fine. So can everybody
Okay.
else. Hey, everybody, this is
All
Don
right.
with my wife, Tina. How you guys doing, everybody? Oh, WizardCon 1 is out from underneath us. Gene, how you doing? Jeff, how you doing? Um, you're welcome for the great weekend. What we're going to do tonight in the video is we're going to talk a little bit about kind of like a post convention recap. We're going to talk a little bit about I got kind of a cheat list here, but there's a whole bunch of stuff to kind of go over. Lessons learned. We're going to talk a little bit about WizardCon 2 that we're already in planning. And, so kind of jump right into it. For those of you, everyone knows we just had WizardCon in Kalamazoo. Um, what a weekend. Um, wow. That's all I can say. We got done with it. We kind of looked at each other and said, we just do a game convention, you know? But
And what did I say later that night? Are you ready to do it again?
yeah. Well, we're going to do it again. We're going to be doing it. I believe the way it falls this year for 2026 is going to be April 25th, 26th, and 27th, I think. I updated the masthead on Facebook. But I want to get something out of the way real quick. I mean, what a hell of a community of gamers. We got a lot of really good feedback from people, a lot of really good ideas. No one was a jerk. No, we had no problems out of anybody. Everybody was really into just having a lot of good fun. Again, no problems as far as that. It was our first convention. There was a few bumps in the road. Mainly, a lot of it centered around just two things: centered around GMs not showing up for their games, but
Mm-hmm.
also tabletop events.
Yes.
Thumbs down. Literally, I rushed home on Saturday because we had people coming in saying I bought tickets. They had the proper barcode, but I couldn't log into my phone. And then I got here to my computer here. I could log in. And I tried to look at my reports, and it said I wasn't authorized. And then I started getting reports from couple other conventions, Central New York Con, RPG Con, with Richard Rabbits. He went ahead and posted that they were having problems with people being able to buy tickets, getting errors. So we're going to be doing our own event site. We're going to custom code it for it makes sense. So Thaddeus, how you doing? Gene? So that's going to be lesson number one that we're gonna correct. We're not going to deal with tabletop events no more, because even as of today, I printed all the badge reports. There's people that had tickets that still are not in the badge reports. So I did a tech support request and got a we don't know about that problem, but we'll work on it type response via email. So
Mm.
yeah, but also want to just do a lot of thank you. I mean, just thank you to a lot of people. I mean, first off, Scott Mulder.
Yes.
Scott Mulder, the guy sitting next to me, whoever was at the convention, I guarantee you met him. What a lifesaver. Hell of a nice guy. I'm actually working on a sci-fi RPG with Scott. And Scott just unselfishly dedicated himself to the entire con. Only took a couple breaks to game with Mark Hunt, I think, and he was on Tim Kask's game experience with
Mm-hmm.
the adventure Tim ran. Other than that, I mean, he was a real trooper. So I really appreciate you, Scott. Oh, you big time. Trust me, I'll get you.
Yeah, he was there from setup to tear down.
Even
I
through
mean,
vendor setup and everything, he was right
yep.
there. But also Eric and Rach Tenkar. Eric and Rach came all the way from New York City to the convention, and we had an issue at the last minute with our auctioneers messaging me saying he had COVID. Eric stepped right in, got on the phone to Bad Mike and Jim Kitchen, said, "Hey, I got to run a quick game auction. Give me some pointers." They gave him some pointers, and he jumped right in. Chris and Marcia Clark from Inner City Games. Chris and his wife are hell of good people. They actually donated 2 Gary Gygax signed RPG copies, but they did not want me to put it into the kids auction. They want me to auction a separate to raise money for WizardCon. And I even double checked with him because I wanted to put him in the children's auction. He said, "No, Don, I want these to go for helping with WizardCon too. So heck of a great gift. These are legitimate Gary Gygax autographs, signatures inside the magazine, inside the books, and I have two of them. Gene says Scott was a fellow thief with us and Tim K. Yeah, exactly. You guys lived. Thanks for
They
making Tim
lived.
salty. I appreciate you for putting Tim in a bad mood for me. No, I'm joking, but
Oh,
I know the
well,
cast.
I think Tim said in about 20 more minutes they would have kicked the bucket, but
Yeah,
what did they call it? Technically lived?
they
I
technically
can't.
lived. That's right.
Yes.
Also, a huge thanks to Tim Kask for coming all the way from Cleveland. Um, for those of you who met him, Tim's not the most youngest guy anymore, but he, like a trooper, came up with Jim Wampler, and a huge thanks to Jim Wampler. Jim ran a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Everybody who played with Jim just absolutely raved about the games. Darlene came all the way up from the south, from North Carolina,
North
wasn't it?
Carolina. Yep, North.
We had slight snafu with her glasses, but Tina saved the day. I went to the airport and got them. Um, you know, uh, Rob and Alaros Conley from Batney Attic Games came up. Rob and Alaros, super nice people. Joe Block, Greyhawk Grognard, Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland were up. Awesome
Yeah.
people. Marcia, or excuse me, Merle and Jackie Rasmussen, Merle Rasmussen from Top Secret fame, um, gamed all weekend. Mark Hunt was an absolute superstar. He did 100, I guess, games of gangbusters, and just, I mean, it was just a huge thing with him and his gangbusters game. And yes, we're releasing gangbusters here in a few weeks. The tariffs affected us being able to get our paper, but everything's going to be kosher the first week in May. So gangbusters coming out. Gene says Darlene was sweet. We had breakfast Friday morning with her and Merle. Yeah, and that's another thing about Darlene and all these other people. They were really accessible at the convention, and that's something that I really liked. There were
Hmm.
no prima donnas here. There were no prima donnas, no people that thought they were special. They just wanted to game just with everybody and have a lot of fun. And like I said, we had no issues with anybody. It was overall, I think it was a pretty good event. I am my worst critic. I see a million things I could do better with the convention, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. So, go
I
ahead, Tina.
also wanted to say, with the Gygaxes, their little daughter Zoe, she
Mm,
was so sweet, and she just celebrated, I believe it was her 10th birthday.
10th. Yep, she had double
Yep.
digits.
She hit
Yep.
double digits, and so I thank them and their crew for coming all this way
Yeah.
with especially having a daughter with a birthday. Um, it was
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, and the thing was with Heidi and Eric, it was really nice talking to them because they talked about their convention and some of the things they ran into, and I noticed the similarities. It must be like a first convention thing, but
Yep.
you know, even though you may be experienced at playing games and you may be experienced at as a book publisher or used to putting on author events, a full fledged 3 solid day, 12-hour a day convention, yeah, it was something else. Um, Eric, how you doing? You're no, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. I was just bragging you and Rach up. You stepping in for the auction, Eric. Um, but Eric Tenkar from Tenkar's Taverns in here. Me and him talked off and on a little bit over the last couple of days. Eric's had a couple of great ideas on how to make a better WizardCon 2. Um, Gene Speckle says the guests you booked were extremely down to earth and friendly. Serious, appreciated putting never question yourself there. Thank you, Terry R. How you doing? So, what are the plans for WizardCon 2? First, thank you, Terry. First, WizardCon is going to move from Kalamazoo, Michigan, to Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm going to leave comments about the venue to a minimum, but um, the venue was less than ideal. The layout to the tables changed without telling me. So that caused table numbers to be all jumbled up. I didn't know about it until the morning of vendor setup. So that was one huge thing because people are coming in going, hey, where's table 24? I'm here to do my game. And due to changes, a wall, and everything else, we lost like 22 tables. So the table space went down. So numbers were way off, which was kind of a huge pain in the ass. But everyone kind of just flowed with it. People grabbed a table where available, and we worked through it. But what we're looking at doing is we're looking at doing it at the Holiday Inn. There's a brand new Holiday Inn. There's an event center in there. They have a restaurant. I checked today in the Holiday Inn,
Oh,
and
do they?
also, yeah, and
Okay.
they have a swimming pool there. And within probably
A
literally,
2-minute walk is
yeah,
my
5 minute max, 5 minute walk. You got
five minutes max. Yeah,
yeah, you got a
they almost share a parking lot. Not
yeah,
quite. You know, you got your curb,
yeah.
but
But I mean, just within that 5 minute walk, you have a Chick-fil-A, you have a Schlotsky's Deli, you have a Starbucks coffee, a Chili's restaurant, a McDonald's, a oh, what's that burger place on the corner
the burger place.
across the street from McDonald's?
Oh, Steak and Shake.
Steak, yeah, Steak and Shake there. So there's a lot of food within 5 minute walk even up there, and within like a 1 minute drive. So
And
it's a
even
really
if you drove through the big main light, um,
oh, and kept going
just
down
a five
exactly,
minute
yeah,
drive, you for people who are more vegetarian, want the fruits and vegetables and soups, there's our local Horrocks, which has it all from beer,
yeah,
wine, beer garden,
yeah.
and then
There's a
they're
beer
putting in
garden
a
there and all that.
we had the Texas Roadhouse and Olive Garden going in.
Yeah, Texas
And
Roadhouse and Olive Garden will be open by the time WizardCon 2 is around. They're in fact they're pretty much done with Olive Garden, but
yeah.
so a lot of food choices, a lot more than what you have there. Um, so second year con, just to let everybody know, everybody who went to the convention this week, probably tomorrow or Thursday, will be getting an email. So watch your emails. It's going to be from, I don't know how Tabletop Events does it. It may be from Tabletop Events or it may be from us, but it's going to be a survey in there. We're going to ask you 3 or 4 questions about the convention, and we're also going to ask you, tell us what you liked about the convention and tell us how we can improve the convention. The reason why we're asking you that second question is because we want your input on how to make WizardCon 2 better. Um, Gene says, so on our 8 hour drive back, Jeff and I came up with a great idea if it's doable at WizardCon 2, Midnight Mothership, especially since gamers are going to game all night long. That's something to look at. Also, Eric had a really good idea about the auction, and that is suspend gaming during the auction, but we also thought about running the auction later, like they do at North Texas. But I'm going to talk to Eric a little bit about that later on. I'm also going to tap Bad Mike's here. Bad Mike from North Texas RPG Con popped off in a comment earlier on WizardCon page that he's going to try to make it next year. If Bad Mike can make it to WizardCon, that's going to be really cool. Jeff says layout may not have been ideal, but the hotel staff were great. You know, the hotel staff were really nice. I mean, bartender was great. You
well,
know,
the
all
bartender gamed.
yeah, she was a Warhammer gamer, I think.
I think so.
And then overall, the staff were great. There was a few. There was a little bit of drama before the convention, which maybe I'll talk about on the vlog of many things when I have a little bit more of an open mic available to me with Eric and such. But so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna move it to Battle Creek for WizardCon 2.
Just because you have your school teacher wife here.
Yeah. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to do things like there was an idea tossed at me about having like a few tables dedicated like to theme gaming, like do like a BECME table, a BX table, a and schedule games for those for people can sign up for them, and then have loose player character record sheets like a stack of each kind that people can just go up and grab if they want a game. That way, there's preparation. We're also going to work on having things like because one of the biggest problems we had were GMs not showing up to the convention, but they had games scheduled. And that was causing a little bit of chaos, especially for a few gamers who
Mm-hmm.
unluckily chose 2 of the GMs who didn't show up. So the idea that was tossed at me, I think by Eric from 10 Cars Tavern, was to have GMs, excuse me, kind of like on hold, on standby. who are able to pick up those games and make sure those games continue to go if a GM does not show up. I'm going to get with Eric, and I'm going to actually tap Bad Mike's ear if he'll give me a moment, and such, to kind of hone this a little bit better, because you know when you, and that's going to be another thing that we're just going to ask. I mean, I understand things happen, um, but if you schedule a game to GM, if you cannot go to it, let me know. Drop me an email. Send us an email and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to come, so we can go. Oh, that GM's not going to be here. We've got 7 people signed up for 2 different games. Two groups of 7. I don't want 7 people let down at the convention. So, heck, I'll step in. I'll run D&D. I'll run BX or BECME or whatnot. I know how to play. I'm fluent in AD&D, BECME, BX. Second edition. I can yank out 3.5. I'm not fluent in 5e, but I might be able to run a game. So, we just want to make sure that when people show up to game, they can game. Also, we're going to be kind of tapping more into volunteers, because WizardCon 2 is going to be probably bigger, now that we got our first year behind us. So we're
Well,
going to be,
Friday and Saturday, we had a lot of people. I don't know how many names and numbers you took down, but we
yeah,
had volunteers for saying,
yeah,
I can GM, or I can help set up, or help run a booth or an area.
yeah,
Let me know what you need help in. And
yep,
um, so we have quite a few on that list, and
yes,
some from the Battle Creek Kalamazoo area, and some,
hmm,
from farther away. But um, it was really nice to hear all those volunteers, and people saying, I hope you're having it again, and us being able to say, yes, we're having it again. And
yes.
so that was great.
Gene says, has there been considerations for having people who attend this year's con get a VIP or higher tier next year? Yes. Um, the reason why I kind of went vanilla, if you will, on this convention was because it was our first one. I wanted to make sure that we could get it under our belt, kind of get it as the baseline. I don't want too big of a learning curve on the first one. And so, yes, there will be kind of a VIP tier next year for tickets, which will be like, and I'm getting ideas. And again, if anybody has any ideas here, um, for if you got an idea how to make the convention better, email info at wizardcon.org. That's info@wizardcon.org. And just title your email WizCon2 idea or WizardCon idea. And I would really love to do that. Jeff Panucci says, any local high school gaming clubs or might be great volunteers? Yes.
Yes,
We kind of found out about them too late in the game. At Tina's school, in the high school, there's a D&D group.
there is. And one of the parents was going to bring her. She has 2 sons, one in middle school and one in high school, and they're both gamers. But they're all involved in sports. So Friday night and Saturday were full. And so and they had a lot going on Saturday, and I reached out to her. But yeah, most definitely I'm going to
Yeah,
try to hook up with my school, because I have the connections there. But then there are 1, 2, 3 other local schools just in the
yeah,
Battle Creek area. So
yeah.
we're going to
So
find out who's who and who to go to.
yeah, and to be honest with you, Jeff, what we're probably going to do is to get these kids into the convention, gaming at the tables, getting more centered on what it's like to game at a table. We'll probably offer gaming clubs free tickets. That's probably going to be one of the things I'm going to do to get these young people into the convention, to really understand that gaming at the club at high school is one thing, but gaming in a large environment like that's a lot of fun, and maybe try to get them hooked on conventions. So maybe they'll look up other gaming conventions and such to play. So yeah, good ideas, one and all. I mean, these are the things that we're looking at. We're looking for the community to help us here. By far, we don't know it all. WizardCon, a game convention, is a huge undertaking, um, massive undertaking, and you know, like I said, without Scott, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, he was such a trooper, Scott Mulder, and I owe
He
him big.
was.
Yep. And, and actually everybody who was there was a real trooper. A lot of people just understood. Like I said, we had no jerks there. Everybody was understanding. If a GM didn't sign up, there's a few people who were let down. I don't blame you, but they were very fast to say, "Hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the GM who didn't show up for not letting anybody know." So, you know, everybody was super awesome at the game convention. So, um, you know,
And Eric, as the auctioneer,
yeah.
I'm thankful for that because I don't think I could have handled that job.
And the
I
thing is, it come in handy because right when the auction was going was, and I had to make sure pizza was ordered and food was ordered for the Tim Kask experience.
oh
So
yeah,
I couldn't do it because I had to make sure all the guys at Tim Kask game were all set up in the conference room. So, the stars aligned. We had Eric there, Scott there. Everybody else was really understanding when there were little minor hiccups and such. And, you know, like I said, we had so many people who just said, "Hey, I'll help you out next year." I forget her name, and I regret forgetting her name, but you'll see the cup. Um, yeah, exactly. He'll get the first ever WizardCon superhero cape next year. Hell yeah, he will be. Um, you know, there was a couple at the convention. Some of you saw her. She was a shorter lady with a tall guy, and she was one wearing the Gygax jersey, the black and yellow Gygax jersey. And she was one of the people who showed up for a few games, and the GM canceled all the games. And she was let down, but she, at the end of the day, was very understanding, her and her husband, and offered to actually help out with the next convention because they're experienced convention goers. They go to Gen Con, they go to Gary Con, all of that. So, it was nice. It was nice to take people, meet people who were in kind of a negative situation because their GMs didn't show up. But at the end of the day, they were like, "Hey, I want to help out the next one. Here's my name and number. Can I get your name and number?" And boom. So yes, and it is just great. Jeff, I appreciate you coming in gaming. Everybody who came, really, really appreciate it because without the community, this game convention is not going to happen. And we're already losing a lot of game conventions. And me and Tina talked, and we're going to keep WizardCon at a cap of 500 people. We don't want to get big, like massive. We want to keep it intimate. We want to keep it small. And
personal.
yes, so that's pretty much where we're at with it. As the year progresses, like I said, we'll have our version of tabletop events set up probably sometime in June or July. In the meantime, we're going to update the website. We're going to be constantly posting on the Facebook, so make sure you follow the WizardCon convention Facebook page. And we're going to be keeping people updated through that. Also on this channel, if you hit the like and subscribe button on this YouTube channel, you'll see the videos because me and Tina are going to be doing update videos constantly, let you know about the venue, letting you know about more about that, more about our plans as we get going and moving along. And then with your guys' engagement and your comments and suggestions, again, info@wizardcon.org. That will help us out a lot by giving us input into the convention to make it better. Because without you guys, we're not going to have a game convention, and without your ideas, WizardCon can't improve. So it's kind of a community thing with us, and we want to involve the community.
And I know Don knows you knew a lot more people going into this than I did. I know screen names more than anything, and just like being able to put a screen name to a face and a name and a handshake and to be around everybody. Just like Ed Kopp, he was from this area, so
Yeah,
we
Edward
had
Kopp.
something in common, and that was great to talk to him and everybody that's like, oh, I want, you're sometimes on the show with Don. I'm this person on the screen. That was nice to make those
Mm-hmm.
connections.
Yeah. And, just like the vendors, I mean, we had a lot of really good vendors, really nice people. A big thing with the new convention, okay? With the new facility, the game room, outside the game room, there's like this large windowed, wide hallway, and it goes the whole length of the almost the building. We're going to put the vendors out there. So, in order to get into the game room, you're walking through the vendor area. So, it exposes the vendors to more walking traffic. If you have to leave, you want to leave, you're walking through the vendor area. We want to see our vendors do well. Um, I was kind of talking to the guy who ran Phoenix Con earlier today, and he was telling me that you know Phoenix Con went really well, but same thing like with his vendors. We always want the vendors to do well because we want you to be able to make your costs, but also make some cash. So we're going to start maybe doing like featured vendors and such. Jerry Tell says prescribed antibiotics for 7 days unless I'm now ready for it. Yeah, yeah. Ouch. Hope you're getting feeling better. Next April, WizardCon 2 is it's coming on up. So, but so that's pretty much it. I mean, we just wanted to do a brief video, kind of thank the people that we need to thank. There's so many more names that we just can't, we just don't have, the idea to remember 150, 200 names. I mean, there's so many of you that just we're real troopers, we're real understanding, and we really do appreciate it. And that's why we're doing WizardCon 2. Because of you guys, seeing walking in there and seeing everybody gaming, laughing, having fun, you know, and such, Joe Block, the Greyhawk Grognar was gaming there. And I think, did I mention Joe's name earlier? So thank you.
I think you did, yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure I don't forget Joe. His his AD&D games were a hit. Chris Clark's games were a real hit. Rob was running games that were a hit. And Joe Block warned me about his tabletop war game with like 1,500 minis. He's right. It takes 3 freaking tables. Oh, you were okay. I got you now. Yep, we had to have a wizard. Yeah, appreciate it. Your
Yes.
guys' costumes were awesome, by the way, Jane. And thank you for coming and dressing up. You really made the kind of convention really cool. And that's going to be another thing that we're going to do on WizardCon too. One of the things I'd like to do is have kind of a costume contest. So if people want to dress up, we can maybe do a costume contest maybe on Saturday night, make it fun. And so again, just ideas like this because a couple people did dress up, and the 2 wizards, Gene was like, so he was one of them. You
You
guys
guys were
really did.
great.
Yeah, you guys really, really were good at your costumes. So I'm reaching out to the local Droid Builders Club. We're going to see if we can get people who make full-size R2-D2s and R5s. Mark, how you doing? That's right, Wizard Time. I was talking you up. Your table is consistently busy, my friend. We're going to be doing that. We're going to have a studio scale Star Wars and a studio scale Star Trek model building display. It's my hobby. I do it for people. So we're going to bring some of the stuff that I build to the convention. Full size, studio scale Millennium Falcons. We're going to have 38-inch Enterprise E's. We're going to have AT-AT Walkers, Y-wing, studio scale, like 3 feet long. All kinds of stuff like that we're going to be bringing. So again,
Okay, how much
WizardCon.
time? I gotta ask, how much time do you have to set up? And do I need to rope in a few people with a few pickup trucks to help you get them there?
Yeah, exactly. I got a lot of that stuff.
You do.
But
Oh,
the
well,
idea is
you always can bring my, I tease you about my boyfriend, Hans, Han Solo.
full size Han Solo and Carbonite. Exactly. Mark says, yeah, it was a great time to have a full table, 7+ players. Where it shines for me. Everybody raved about your game. Nobody walked away from your game bored. They all loved it. So, Mark, thank you. Again, thank you for coming. Thank you for doing that. We were talking earlier, Mark, about having dedicated tables, like have a Beckme table, a BX, an AD&D, a Boot Hill, the new version of Gangbusters, a Star Frontiers table, because I believe Tom and Tammy are coming to the next one. Just all kinds of getting unique ideas. So,
Well,
so
one of the guys at the auction who didn't even know Tom bought Tom a 2002 2010 book.
2010, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 2010 module for Star Frontiers, yeah.
Hmm.
So, community, that's where it's at. And we got a big taste of the community this weekend. And again, like I said, everybody was great. In fact, me and Mark are meeting tomorrow night. We have a video call. We're going to be talking about the new Gangbusters. Mark has some more ideas. Making some slight modifications, some slight tweaks to it. Yep, OSR tables would be great. That's what we're going to do. We're kind of going to do a like a dedicated area. Yeah, he did a really great game. Um, so, um, yes, he is. We want to make sure he's taken care of. I asked him how his knee was doing earlier, and I don't think he saw it yet. So, but he has indicated he wants to come next year. He missed it because of knee surgery, or he probably would have been there. But you know, next year's going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be better. We learn our lessons. So, um, yeah, I mean, actually, I think that's about it for tonight. I mean, we've been, kind of yapping here now for 30 minutes, but, um, again, if you have any input that you want to give, ideas how to make WizardCon 2 better, what can we do to make it more fun? What can we do to improve it? Go to info at Wizard Tower or WizardCon, excuse me, I keep getting Wizard Tower Games mixed up. Info at wizardcon.org. That's the email, and just title it ideas or WizardCon 2 or whatnot, and we'll be happy to take a look at it because we want to make sure it is good. Mark says 100 days of Gen Con. You know what? I think Gen Con for me personally at 70,000 people over 6 blocks is a little bit big for me. I didn't catch no con crud this time, so that's a good thing.
Well, I caught allergies beforehand, so
Yeah.
but they were leaving me. So
Mm-hmm. But again, I want to thank everybody. All the people we thanked at the beginning of this video. Um, you know, thank you, Jeff. Much appreciated. We tried, and at the end of the day, like I said, I'm my own worst critic, but what I want to make sure is that we get the community input, because with your input for number 2, boom, it'll be so much better. Hard pass on Gen Con. I agree with you, Eric. I just don't. The lady was telling me, who had the Gygax jersey, that at Gen Con they went to the vendor room. She said it was so packed that you were literally pushed with the crowd. No, not my thing. Mark, you're a brave man. You might want to bring your violin case, because I
I
think
love that violin case.
you might need your Chicago typewriter, my friend, at Gen Con. But yeah, it's just too big for me. I want to be able to go to a convention and game. I want to be able to go to vendor rooms and be able to enjoy the experience. I've heard just so much negative about Gen Con now, how packed it is, and waiting 5 hours in line, even if you pre-bought your tickets to even get in. No,
Ooh.
yeah, no, not for me. So, oh, hey, if you can run games, run them, buddy. Hell yeah. But
I mean, we
so
plan on being at more conventions. I want I want to get more ideas, just different things to do and different things to see, and
yeah,
how other people do it, because it's great ideas.
yeah, and that's it. That's like I said earlier. I'll say it 100 more times probably. Is that it's all about the community. So I guess we're gonna let you all go. We've been on here now for almost 35 minutes. We just wanted to kind of thank you, kind of give kind of a recap of the events, what our ideas, some brief ideas for the second one, because I'm sure the second one's going to morph and kind of be more added on to. Mark's, I want to go to Game Hall next year. Game Total Con, Shire Con, Page, Ron
Hmm.
Meshke's convention. These are all great OSR based or OSR oriented conventions. And we were at Total Con, and we're going to Page next year. And
And we're talking. I'm. I mean, what I think we have in the plans to try to get to North Texas this
yes,
year.
we're not going to go as vendors. No, we're just going to go
Nope.
down there and I got to experience their midnight auction firsthand.
Well,
I don't
gosh,
know if
that
I'm.
means I need to take a evening nap before the midnight auction.
That's right, and I don't know if we're going to buy the splash seats or not in the front. I've heard a few stories about what happens there, so I just might want to take a couple rows back, but we'll have to wait and see. But we really want to, and actually, North Texas is kind of like something that I was looking at that I wanted to kind of emulate a little bit. Smaller, not massive, more intimate, more gaming accessible, and such. So, um, you know, okay, good evening. All was a kind. Thank you. Yep. There's some room open. There's rooms open. Call Glenn. I'll get a hold of Glenn on that. Definitely. Hellstrom, I think, yeah, Hellstrom goes there every year. So, but again, everybody, thank you. Thank you for
Yes,
coming.
thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you for supporting us. WizardCon 2 is happening last weekend of April 2026. And, boom, sold out right away. Even I missed out on the splash this year. Eric, you missed out on splash seats. Nice. Must be really popular. I mean, hey, guy with a beer belly and a red Speedo. I mean, I guess you can't beat that, right? For auctions, right? So, but I guarantee you one thing though, Eric will help out a lot at an auction, but Eric will never take the place of that guy. I'm willing to bet that, and I don't blame him. Eric, seriously, thank you very much for taking care of the auction. I tease you, my friend, but you and Rach were awesome. We both, you saved my ass. Scott, I was just bragging about you, my ass savior. You saved my ass at this convention. Thank you, sir. Scott, if everybody doesn't know, was the guy sitting next to me. And he was everything from the game cheerleader to helping with vendor setup to helping with badges, you name it. Scott stepped right up. And I am dead serious. Scott, in front of everybody here, thank you. Seriously, my friend.
Yes.
We owe you a debt of gratitude I'm not going to be able to soon repay. Nope, you can't be Mike's brother. I don't blame you. Thank you. Like I said, it just showed us a lot about the community. I mean, like I said, it was a nice thing. Damn right, Gene, superhero entered the chat.
Well,
Scott Mulder.
It's superhero day too.
Yeah. I was, Scott, you are very welcome, my friend. So, but basically that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go now. What we're going to do is, again, I emphasize info@wizardcon.org. If you have an idea, title the thing WizardCon 2 or, convention idea. Give us your ideas because this is what we need in order to kind of formulate the next convention. We want to go ahead and we want to make sure that, oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, and don't worry, Scott game. I think he got some game in with Mark Hunt, and then you did the Tim Cass experience. So
did he? Hey Scott, did you get in with Merle? I know that bridge, that city of
building
London
London
that they
Bridge.
were building with
building London. Yeah,
Legos. Yeah.
So, everybody, hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you for coming on the video with us tonight and watching us yap. Again, watch our YouTube channel here, subscribe and like it if you will. What we're going to do is we're going to be doing probably consistent video content now all year long. And this is your chance also in these forums that we're doing right now where you can say, I have an idea, like a few people did. And we're going to, basically, Scott had a really good idea. And I'm going to real quickly do this before we leave. Scott had an idea to make the convention more interactive. Bring things in that make the convention interactive, that get people engaged. And those are the things that we're going to go ahead and we're going to implement into the next convention. So, so everybody, thank you again for coming to WizardCon. WizardCon 2, last weekend of April 2026. We are going to be posting a link here probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks for the new convention page. I do not think we're going to be using tabletop events. Sorry. I got my opinions about that site. So,
Yep.
yep. So again, everybody, thank you. And this is Don and Tina. We're going to sign off now. Hope everybody has a good night. And vlog of many things is this Thursday. And we're going to get into about conventions and how to make them good and problems with conventions. And we're going to get more on the pros and cons of conventions, talk a little bit about a whole bunch of things, and probably go off the rails like we always do. You know, it's just like normal shit for us. So this is Don, my wife Tina down below. Thank you, everybody. And we will catch you guys on the next video. Again, like and subscribe, support this channel. Appreciate it.